Hi, everyone. My name is Kirk Bachman, and welcome back to The Ultimate Dish. In today's episode, we're speaking with Lance McWhorter, executive chef and owner of Culture ETX, a restaurant in Eastern Texas. Lance has dedicated his life to serving others. After enlisting in the military at age 17, he served in both the Army and the Navy, in addition to working as a professional firefighter and EMT. More recently, he was a contestant on the Food Network's Chopped, and a local winner of the prestigious Cochon 555 competition. Join us today as we chat with Lance about adjusting to life after the military and how to be successful in cooking competitions, running a restaurant, and the importance of service. Welcome, Lance. It's so good to see you, man. Thanks for chatting with us today. How are you doing?
Here.
Excellent. Got the hat on backwards, or did I just pull you off the line? Or
yeah, right. Yeah, always. Yeah, that's I had to make a little clean spot in the back and unclutter everything and kind of get it all lined up and ready for you.
I love. Hey,
run out and tell everybody to shut up.
That's give them my thanks and respect. And hey, I'll talk to you on the line anytime.
Yeah, sure.
I'm patient that way. Hey, before we even get, I'm so excited about chatting today. God, there's so much, right? The more I watch, the more I want to, find another YouTube video. You're doing a lot of stuff. I mean,
yeah.
So
that's you got to stay active. I always tell people, social media and whatever, is never stop hustling, man. Like always, just keep going, keep doing what you want to do, chase your dreams. I mean, that's how you do a lot of things. That's what originally got me to Escoffier in the first place and learning and man, now I'm here. Now, a few short years later, I've got my own restaurant. Like you said, we've done some really cool competitions, and it's just killing it. I mean,
no, I love it. I love it. When we chatted, you were talking, and I'm going to dive right in because I'm fascinated by this. This kayak angler competition thing that you're working on now. You got. This is for my son-in-law. You got to fill me in on this.
Well, it's something that I've been doing for a lot of years. It was something that was very therapeutic to me when I was the tail end of my service career. I was working as a high threat security contractor in Iraq. This is 2008-9 up until 2013, and I was back and forth to Iraq all the time. And one of the things that kind of kept me sane when I was home was I was living in the hill country of Texas at the time, and I got into kayak fishing, and it was just like it sounds, like peaceful, paddling around, a couple rods and reels in the boat and go catch some nice fish. Well, fast forward, 10 years after that, or I guess a little longer than that, 12 years after that, we get into COVID. The restaurant is, it was tough. Everybody, I don't have to tell everybody in the restaurant scene how tough it was.
Yeah.
Culture ETX, my restaurant, was 6 months old when COVID hit. We went into the first shutdown, and I was just completely depressed, completely just kind of beside myself. This was supposed to be all those things that you just said, my new restaurant, my episode of Chop just aired. We just won Cochon 555. And then a month later, COVID hits, and everything is dangling by a thread. So it was such a time of uncertainty, and it was such a stressful time that I either had one of two options. I could sit at home during the lockdown and drink myself to death, or I could get up and I could go do something. So I thought back through all the things that I loved and all the pastimes that I really enjoyed. And the one that I had just given up when I moved to Dallas to really work for some of these great chefs was kayak fishing, because I just didn't have time. Working 100-hour weeks, the last thing you want to do is get out in the hot water on a boat and go fish. So went out, found a nice kayak, restocked rods, reels, all that, and just really dove into it and got good at it. Got good again at it. I was always a really good angler, but then I got into these competitions, these local regional things. Then I started branching out, driving a little bit further. Then I discovered, oh wow, there's entire national Bassmaster type, big.
Who knew?
All over the country. Yeah, and
I had no idea.
So this year, this spring, I'd gotten good enough and experienced enough to the point where I started branching out, doing some national competitions. And so this year, I think I've done, I want to say it's about 20 to 25 tournaments already this year.
So you were in the tournament, and now you're
Mhm.
thinking about hosting your own tournament, right?
Well, we do. There's a few friends and I, also former military guys, most of us. And we started one called Northeast Texas Kayak Bass League, and we kind of have this little regional thing going on, and so that's just kind of like more for fun. I mean, you can still win some money, but it's not like the national ones. I mean, I qualified for the Kayak Bass Fishing National Championship this year, and total winnings for that. You win a couple key events, and I mean, it's up around $200,000 in winnings. So I mean, it's no joke. I mean, it's pretty crazy.
It's a serious sport, yeah.
But it's been something that's been so therapeutic to me, and it's made me learn those final lessons as being a restaurant owner, of being able to find, train, teach. I mean, after surviving COVID, train people, trust people, guide people into more taking the reins and going, okay, you know what, I'm a chef now. It's like I own my restaurant. I've paid my dues, so to speak. And so now I've built my crew to the point of where if I need to take, go out and go to South Carolina, like I did the last time I was talking to Mo, I can go out there for 5 days, 3 days of practice and 2 days of competition, and know that the restaurant's in great hands. So that was kind of, not only was it therapeutic and it kept me sane throughout COVID, but now it has really given me the drive to be a better leader, and be a better boss.
No, that's such good feedback. And it's a point of pride too, right? When you're able to leave your crew behind and they take care of business for you on behalf of the business. Yeah.
Yeah. Super proud of my crew. And my chef de cuisine is Justin Dwanzak. And I mean, he's cooked in Miami. He's cooked in Scottsdale, Arizona. I mean, he's been around. He's got some great chops. I mean, just a great chef, and I've got some baby chefs that are really coming up, Chevy and Josh. And then also my wife, Bailey, she's a very accomplished, professional barbecue pitmaster. We were working on opening up her restaurant, and then COVID hit. So that got sidebarred. But so she's, whenever there's a real emergency and we're like a person down or whatever, she's always the first one to jump up and run in there. Yeah. And she's a very accomplished chef as well. I mean, she used to work at some pretty killer restaurants back in the day. She can flip pans.
That's great.
Yeah, she can flip pans with the best of them, man. She's one of those angry line cooks we were talking about. She'll stab you. She'll sabotage your mise, like she's a savage.
Oh my gosh. It feels like a family affair. I really appreciate that. So let's talk, man, what a background. I don't even know where to begin, but where did the interest in cooking come from? Is this pre-military or post-military?
Yeah, I didn't have much of a home life as a kid, from the point of being around 12 or so, I kind of bounced around a lot, host homes, foster homes. Met my real dad for a little bit, but he worked in the restaurant industry. Lived with him for a very brief moment. I think it was around 13, but worked in the restaurant industry. So his apartment, was full of cookbooks, and he'd vanish for weeks at a time, and I'd be there by myself. So I would I'd learn to read cookbooks and recipes and things like that. And one of the first things he did, it was summertime, and man, we were living in, I think it was Lake Havasu City, Arizona, and he was managing a restaurant, and across the street was this little Greasy Spoon diner. Like I said, I was like 13, coming on 14, and he went over to the diner and he got me a job there as a dishwasher, just because he knew the guy that owned it or whatever, and so man, this is 1980. I don't know, 1986, sometime around there. So, I mean, child labor laws weren't really there yet. It's like we could hold knives. The servers are back there smoking cigarettes, like it's like
times have changed.
Yeah, I mean, he was angry. And my first day working in a restaurant was mountains of just syrup coated tourist pancake plates, and just if you've ever worked a dish pit and the hot water starts running low at the end of the push, like you'll learn to hate syrup, man. That was nasty. And then but I mean, after that I started working on the prep line, just kind of worked my way up super quick. And then, wound up kind of bouncing around living situation and all that. I wound up working some fast food joints and, a little Chinese restaurant I was prep cooking at. So it's just, I was kind of always working in restaurants as a kid. And that was, being kind of a homeless kid, like a house hopping kid. One, it gave me money. Two, I always had something to eat. It's like there was never one of those places that I couldn't walk away with a bag of food, so it was kind of like this necessity that was just met on multiple faces,
It feels like survival, right?
Yeah, totally. It was. And but at the same time, it's just, like the restaurant people were my people. It was like family. It's like they were kind of the you get around a bunch of like rough line cooks and stuff like that, and you in servers and the dish pit guys, the bus boys, and it's like you start learning that these are the people that are kind of, Bourdain was right, they're kind of on the fringes. They're kind of it's kind of the land of the broken toys, so which was like a place that I found that I really fit in, so it's something that even after going into military and public service for as long as I did, it always kind of called to me. And it really kind of blossomed again when I was working as a firefighter, because we cook all our own meals, we do all our own shopping. As a probationary firefighter, I found out that people were requesting me at their stations because they heard I could cook. So it's like I was getting all these good station assignments because I could cook. So I was like, all right, cool, that works.
That's not a bad thing, right? Yeah. So then you enlisted in the military at 17, 4 years in the Army, 4 years in the Navy, professional firefighter, EMT.
Got hurt and retired. Yeah.
Security contractor for the Department of Defense, I believe, and the State Department.
And the Department of State. Yeah.
First of all, thank you for your service.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for paying me all the way through all of
it. So walk us through 4 years in the Army and then 4 years in the Navy. How does that work?
I mean, it's so easy a caveman can do it, man. I mean, it's just you just sign up for one and then you can sign up for another. It's just I had hopes and dreams and aspirations of maybe getting to go the Navy SEAL route. That was kind of my whole purpose in switching. Okay. But mid 90s, early 90s, it was like Clinton just gutted special operations, and they're just the class slots never materialized, so I never got the chance. But I wound up on a cool little ship. We had like this anti-piracy mission. So I got to do this. It's called vessel boarding, BVSS teams, anti-piracy. We were enforcing trade sanctions against Iraq and Iran in the Persian Gulf. So the world, the UN gave us the authority to, or not the UN, the whatever, I don't even remember which one it was, but they gave us, like NATO gave us the authority to board any ship going to or coming from any of these countries that were sanctioned. We're allowed to search their cargo and make sure that they only had medical supplies, food, things like that, necessities, because of the restrictions that were put in place against them. So it was a pretty cool job. I mean, we were around Africa, we were around all of the Middle East. I got to go to a lot of places, and this is like when my palate developed, and I went from my little East Texas grandma's home cooking, a lot of cornmeal and fish and Cajun flavors, things like that. And then I started discovering, Middle Eastern food, Indian
spices,
Pacific Rim, China, Russia, Japan, all of Latin America, Africa. It was, I started hitting all these countries, and I was like, man, this is cool, and I would always go. I always laugh. I would always go. I would tell people about it. I'm like, I'll go to where they don't speak English. It's like, and that's where I'd go eat. That's where I'd go hang out. And in countries that I could, that's where I'd go drink. I remember some little Pacific island. We were sitting in like me and a couple buddies wound up sitting in some like witch doctor guy's hut, like drinking something or another. We don't even know what it was to this day, and eating their food, and we couldn't speak to each other, but it was known that we were all cool, because here we were eating and drinking together.
Sharing food, sharing drink together. It's a great theme. I was going to ask you. You sort of started down that path. How your experiences in the military sort of shaped, who Chef Lance is today as a person and as a chef. So a lot of it had to do with being exposed to different cultures, different cuisines. That's a great story. So how does that all translate into, I hate the word, but the struggles. A lot of veterans go through struggles when they're trying to transition from their work in the military to a civilian life.
Yeah,
Was
totally.
is that a path you were on as well, or?
Yeah, very much so. Especially later on. I mean, I had my struggles after coming back out of the military. But the wars, the conflicts, the sporadic engagements of 1990 through 1997
Hmm.
weren't that long or drawn out or super intense. Firefighting and EMS. So I got hurt and I was retired from firefighting. I was a Salt Lake County firefighter, and I busted up my back pretty bad in a house fire, and was forced to retire pretty quickly. I was like 30. But that I had a ton of ghosts from. That was
Okay.
a lot more probably than anything else that I've ever experienced in my life, and that's mostly just from the EMS. From a lot of people miss that part about the firefighters. They go, oh well, these guys are running into the buildings. They got the axe. You backdraft. If the door opens and it's hot, don't get out. Like that kind of stuff. But in reality, we do a lot more medical calls than we do fire calls. We're in people's homes. We're the first ones there when grandma has a heart attack at Thanksgiving dinner, which I've experienced. To little kids, to drownings, to SARS, to or SIDS. I'm sorry, or horrific traffic accidents, or it's that was a real tough. So that was kind of like my primer for PTS. I always say PTS because the D, it's not a disorder. It's a natural reaction to events that most people don't experience. But then after going back and contracting, now I'm in more of the new OIF, OEF kind of combat areas. It's a lot different than anything that I was ever used to. The enemy was, of course, vanished into the society. They were mixed in with everybody. The threat of IEDs. I still lift my feet off the ground anytime I drive past a cardboard box. It's something that will never leave me. And open my mouth so I don't get overpressured when it blows up. But yeah, it's tough. You come back and you miss that thrill. That you miss that. I mean, as a contractor, yeah, they were paying us really well, but it was rough. It's like there was some there's a lot of stress there. And coming home, it's like it just vanishes. It's just you're back in the loving arms of America, and the flags are waving and everything's happy and everybody, and you're kind of like still waiting for the other shoe to drop. So
You just don't flip the switch. Do you spend time with colleagues, with other vets, collaborate and help? Yeah.
My chef de cuisine is a vet. I've tried to hire as many vets as I can. Right as the restaurant was getting set up and then we were going into COVID, that's one of the things I'm still going to do is offer free cooking classes to vets, like on a day off, once or twice a month, just kind of do some basic stuff, basic knife work and what have you.
That's great. That's great.
But it's cooking is something that filled that void because, and thank you, Anthony Bourdain, for reminding me of this when I was in Iraq, because I was sitting there and I was like, man, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I was like 39 years old and I was like, man, I'm the old man over here. It's like I'm the one with the gray hair and my beard, and there's 22-year-old dudes are out here doing this stuff now. Everything hurts. It's like I'm just like, I don't know, man. So I was just trying to figure out what was next in my chapter. Like, what did I really want to do? And cooking just kept coming up. It's like whether it be watching shows or reading books, reading Bourdain or reading White Heat by MPW, you know, or reading Devil in the Kitchen, you know, or oh man, what was the Gabrielle Hamilton, her book, something in Bone.
Oh, Bones. Yeah. Oh, great.
Blood
Yeah.
and Bones, or yeah. That, I mean, I read that book and I was just floored. That's one that's really been missed by a lot of people, and like her involvement in opening Prune, and like her life was just like one of those things that I kind of really looked at and I'm like, okay, I dig her. I get her, you know.
And I found inspiration, I think, like you, from a lot of those stories, whether it was Bourdain or Marco Pierre White, and how they love the industry so much that they overcame, right? It's courage. It's this love of food, this love of cooking, this love of serving.
Yeah. It just continues on, and it's all dialed in together, and it's like where service meets art. And that's something that, you know, I've always been kind of a, you know, square peg, doesn't matter what hole, can smash, you know, like, and just crush it in, you know. But this was like the one artistic thing that I was good at. And so I really enjoyed it, you know, and it just called and called and called. So, you know, I left, I think I was making, I don't know, about $215,000 a year at the time. And I just pulled the plug, and I'm like, I'm gonna go be a cook. And my buddies were like, wait, you're going what? You know, it was like $180,000 a year pay cut, you know. It's like I ruined myself financially for this, you know. It's but I didn't care, you know, and that's like where
the heart pulls, right? The heart pulls.
And it's all about chasing those dreams. And I'm guessing it is 11 o'clock on a Tuesday, on the first Tuesday of the month, because they're testing the tornado sirens. So sorry if you can hear that.
Yeah. No. Well,
we do live in one of the tornado alleys.
Yeah. Let's talk about Culture ETX. I mean, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
There's a plug. The website is cool. I'm not going to lie. So I you know, I've kind of trended, like a lot of people, to this plant-based diet over the last few years, you know, for health reasons, and just because it's cool and vegetables are awesome and all of that.
Agreed.
But I gotta say, the pork that you're cooking up on this particular video that I was watching for Cochon, right? Wow. And the respect. Well, we'll come to it in a minute. Let's talk about the restaurant.
Yeah, for sure.
How did that come to be? And it just feels like, when I listen to your story, and if I had to guess, what kind of restaurant would Lance open? That's the restaurant.
That's it, right? Yeah. It's I mean, it's Culture ETX, and like I remember some of the early reviews that we got. You know, aside from people saying the music's too loud, which I'm like, I don't care. You know, when you open your restaurant, you can do your music however you want to do it. Like me, I'm gonna play old school hip hop and grunge and 90s alternative, whatever I want to do. But yeah, it's me on a plate. It's me in four walls. It's me on a soundtrack. It's Culture ETX, man. It's fun. You know, it used to be a Subway. So, all right, backstory. It's like I'm working in Dallas, and I'm like really, I'm really digging it. Like I'm feeling it. I'm learning. I know that I'm ready. You know, I was an executive chef when I went to culinary school. You know, I'd worked my way up quickly to running restaurants. And that's mostly because I think of my military bearing, my leadership skills, my business skills, my communication skills were better than most others. So kids, don't ever knock that, you know, some school will do you some good. Or at least pretend, you know, you're smart, you know, when it's down to the wire. But, you know, so I worked my way up, and then I worked my way back down. I went from executive chef to working as a line cook for a couple of really killer chefs in Dallas. James Beard types, you know, Food and Wine Best New Chef, great chefs. Also, one of them was a previous Cochon winner, and the other one was a previous Cochon contestant. But I was looking for where I wanted to open, you know, and I love the outdoors. I love fishing. I love East Texas. East Texas is beautiful. My family moved to East Texas in 1835 when it was still Mexico.
Oh, wow.
All my grandparents live within, you know, 45 minutes of where my restaurant is now. My earliest memory of cooking was with my great grandmother and my grandmother on a matchlit propane stove in a little farmhouse in Athens, Texas, I remember standing on a metal bucket with a wooden spoon, stirring roux, and it was bacon grease and flour. And she had this old rusty can of, Hills Brothers or whatever up on the shelf above the stove with another spoon in it that just
kept collecting the bacon grease. Yeah, of course.
Stirring.
Yeah.
I was like probably 3, with this with roux. It's amazing. But I remember just the smell, and I remember it developing, and I remember that being the basis of almost everything that she cooked was roux. And the singed old handmade wooden spoon that my great grandfather made her. He made all of her utensils, and I still have them. Like that spoon, I still have that spoon.
Amazing. The stories.
The apple pie, yeah, for reals. I mean, this is she got this in like the 1920s, 19-teens. I still have her pie dishes, those old like Corningware pie dishes. That's what we make the apple pies in at the restaurant. My one of my chefs, Chevy, he is terrified of my grandmother's pie dishes because I told him that if he breaks them, I will no doubt kill him. But that's all part of the story, and it's
part of the culture, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But people were going, well, this isn't East Texas culture, I'm like, it's kind of rooted in it, is my view. But they're like, this isn't East Texas culture. I'm like, exactly. This is culture coming to ETX. We're combining it with East Texas. We're taking the roots of how I learned to cook here, and the reason that I came back here. But we're combining that local culture with all the cultures that I've experienced all over the world in like 40 plus different countries. It's like, I wanted it to be, Grant Achatz famously said, I think it was on Spinning Plates on the documentary, it was like, rules? There are no rules. Do what you want. It's like you can do whatever you want. Who says that a plate has to be flat?
And people like that today. They want to be entertained. What's beautiful about the story is, like so many great chefs, the restaurant is manifesting itself in who you are, and how you became you, from the greasy spoon where you had to get the pancake syrup off the plates to all the James Beard, and your literacy around cooking history is so impressive. And Tyler, Texas, right? The restaurant's in Tyler, Texas. There's our shameless plug. There you go. I love that. So I'm not even going to ask a question. I know that Escoffier has a very, very kind of special place in your heart.
Absolutely.
And I've heard you talk about it. So no questions, just talk about Escoffier a little bit.
Escoffier, Escoffier is like where my high threat security job still, it keeps going. That's where, I think a lot of the media folks and a lot of the social media team at Escoffier has known me for a long, long time. And that's because I've been in a lot of their ads, and, I've got the flame tattoo, and I've got the backwards hat, and I've got the pig on the other arm. And, I'm a Gen X dude. I'm like, look, all the millennials that like to poke fun at the stereotypical chef, I've looked like this since, what do we say, since they were pooping yellow, like it's so me being in a lot of Escoffier's ads, it draws some heat about, one, nobody should go to culinary school. Culinary school is a waste of money. The laundry list that you hear, all these chefs that are, work at chain outfits, dropping boiling bags of food into water, and then dumping them on a plate, that love to get out and call people that, have actually taken time to go get an education and build up, tons of work experience in the industry. They like to look at us and go, oh, those guys aren't real chefs. I've hired people out of culinary school and they ain't no good, whatever. And then double pronged, Escoffier's online program really blows people's minds, because people can't bend their noodle around. How can you learn anything on the internet? Escoffier, I went to their online program. I was already an executive chef when I went. I did it because I wanted to check that box. I did it for me. And anybody, and I will tell this, I don't care if you're going for an engineering degree underwater basket weaving degree, culinary degree, whatever you want to do. If you're doing it for any other reason than you're wrong. Like, don't do it for, if I go to culinary school, I'm going to be a chef. No, that's not how it works. That's not how anything works. You can go to doctor school, you can go to medical school and not be a doctor when you get done. There's still a lot of real world residencies, internships, things like that you have criteria that need to be met after you graduate. Cooking's the same thing. You really have to put in the work. You've got to put in your time in the trenches. And so my trench time continues now as being kind of the linebacker for Escoffier, that when people come in and they start getting kind of disrespectful towards me or the school, I'm the one that says, hey man, throw down, put up a plate. Let's see what you do. Let's see where you've been. What restaurant's yours? What are you running? Usually they don't put up plates. That's I find that they like to talk a lot, and they like to, it's just the internet, and it's funny. And I don't know, I've invited them all to my restaurant. None of them show up.
Well, I will say that I'm so appreciative of the respect for the craft, and Auguste would be, so delighted to meet you. It's respect for the craft.
Not quite that old, but I would love it. That would be my dream. I remember when I inboarded for the online program and got to meet online on the meeting. I got to meet his one of his grandsons.
Yeah, Michel Escoffier's great grandson. Yeah, absolutely.
Got to meet him. Got to meet some great chefs through Escoffier, Curtis Duffy. Some people that were definitely inspirations to me before I ever even went to school.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Let's talk about Chopped a little bit. Now all of this comes together, and boom, you're a celebrity. You're a celebrity. So what was that experience like? It's different to be on TV, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty used to just being on like regular TV. I'll do like cooking segments, or I'll do whenever there's something going on in the culinary world. It seems like the news always comes and talks to me, probably because I just never have a shortage of stuff to say.
Things to say.
Yeah. And man, Chopped. It's we were talking a little bit about that transitioning when you get home from the military, and undoubtedly, the darkest point for me was right when I was first getting into cooking, and it was because I was right when I came home from contracting in Iraq, and I had some really dark days, and it was maybe a year after I got back that I was kind of spiraling. I was kind of just not doing well, and one of my chefs, her name is Sydney Cook. She's amazing. She came to me and she goes, this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is where you need to be. You preach this to everybody. She goes, just like shut up and listen to yourself for once.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be cooking. You need to immerse. And then she hired me to be her CDC at this new restaurant that she opened, and really taught me a ton. Saved my life. I wholeheartedly believe that. The camaraderie and the speed and the excitement and the intensity and if anybody watches Chopped these days, you'll hear the little soundbite that plays in all their commercials. They've been doing it this whole season where it's fast, it's hot, it's loud. It's like you hear somebody say that in the background, and that's me. They literally pulled that out of when I'm talking about military service, transferring over the line. And so long story short, my wife comes to me and she goes, Bailey, she goes, Chop's doing this open auditions. She's like, I think you should do it. I'm like, nah, dude. I'm like, I don't want to. I'm like, I'm a chef. That's when I was like, I was like knee deep in it. I was the exec of a restaurant out here in like Northeast Texas, and I was like in it. That was when I was like chef life and like,
yeah,
all that stuff. I was in that phase of my career, and she's like, sometimes you can be such a hypocrite. And I was like, what? She goes, think of the opportunity that you have to get that message that you're always preaching to people about getting more vets in the kitchen. She goes, what better platform in the world than one that millions and millions and millions of people are going to watch? And I was like, all right, you're right.
Bravo, Bailey, right?
Bravo, Bailey,
wow.
Yeah. And, but I was thinking it was more like a game show, and And man, it wasn't. It was nothing like a game show.
It's the real thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I applied for it like that night. They called me the next day. Did video interviews, and it was like just fast tracked. And then fast forward to, I want to say it's February of 2018. Yeah, because I was at FT33 in Dallas. That's where they came and shot my hero reel and all that, which was, I mean, that took 9-10 hours just to shoot that little 1 minute thing. But yeah, went to New York, which was awesome. I love New York. I love Manhattan. Bailey had never been there, so I took her, and we went around to some really killer places to eat. Took her to Barbaloo, took her to the Aviary for cocktails.
Oh my goodness.
Place.
Yeah.
We went on, Dirty Water Dogs, Gray's Papaya. I was just taking her everywhere epic. And then filming day came, and 6 o'clock in the morning, standing in front of a seedy McDonald's, like out in the middle of kind of the hood. It was cool. It's like, the whole city's dead. And then this lady comes walking around the corner, and she's like, "Oh, hey chefs, you guys ready?" And walks us around
showtime
blocks away. And this, nondescript looking building. And you walk in, and it's chopped. I mean, it's like, a lot of people have never been in one of these big production things. Like when you looked at the Chop Kitchen Stadium thing, whatever, I mean, it looks like this really just super cool kitchen, right? It's all 2x4s on the back, so it's like,
it's just propped up. Yeah.
Exactly. You're walking through this like construction scene.
Yeah.
And then you hear his voice, Ted Allen, it's like, hear him actually like, oh my God, that's Ted Allen, 15 hours later, you shot your episode. The better you do, the longer you stay. And even if you lose first round, man, you've got this exit interview that's like 2.5 hours long, where they go through, and that's where they get a lot of your descriptions, a lot of your sound bites that they use for the actual episode is in that post.
The theme through all of your storytelling is that you're so respectful of giving back to your team, to your wife, to the people, to the gal that helped you get to the right place for Chop. I mean, I love that that ability.
You're nothing without your team. That's just
share. Yeah.
That's the thing. Whether it be military, whether it be culinary, one thing that and this will fall on deaf ears with a lot of chefs that are just coming up. But if the first time you run a restaurant, or the first time you own a restaurant, for sure, you will not listen to these words. You will not listen to trust your team. You won't listen to, accept input and help from others, because you're going to be stubborn and you're going to work yourself to death. Like I almost did, like everybody almost did. I landed in the hospital, early 2020 from AFib, from stress. It's like, take a breath, trust your team, respect your team, grow your team, love them like they're your own family. My restaurant's tiny. It used to be a sandwich artist station. It's 1,500 square feet, and now the kitchen's right in the dining room, and it's a ton of fun. And we put on a show every night that we have service. And when I'm not there, my team can do it without me.
And the music's loud. Is that a theme? So many chefs that I speak with, it's cooking, it's food, it's music, whether they play or they listen, and it's motorcycles. All of the above for you?
I got out of motorcycles. I used to be really big into riding motorcycles. Like really, really big into like the Harley scene and all that. And it's kind of like, a lot of vets coming home. That's where all the motorcycle clubs came from, is all the vets coming home. They needed that camaraderie. Stay together. For me, that was one of the things that led me into the dark paths of my life, that cooking saved me from. But not so much the motorcycles anymore.
But the music, you still got the music
for sure. That's I'm 48 years old. I was born in 1972. Every step of the way, my generation, your generation, the Gen X, we've had the greatest soundtrack to life that anybody could have ever dreamed.
100% agree. 100% agree.
Same with video games. It's like we've had the whole arc of video games and music our entire life. So Culture is kind of like this like Gen X like anthem. You know, it's you never know. I mean, you're going to get grunge if you walk in. You're going to get alternative. You may get 80s new wave. You might get. I mean, some night you get in there Friday or Saturday night, and it's 8 o'clock at night. You might get Dre. You might get Gangstar. You might get Mos Def. You might get who knows. You might get old school hip hop, because that's what I listen to more than anything else. That's kind of my thing.
I could see why the Food Network loves you. It's the sound bites coming from your rhetoric is unbelievable. I mean, I've written so many cool things down. It's just awesome. You know, in our time left, I'm just fascinated by Cochon 555. Wasn't aware of it. The coolest thing that I have researched in a long time. You know, give us a high level of
absolutely
how cool this is. Yeah.
And Cochon, Cochon 555.
What's the 555?
5 chefs, 5 winemakers, 5 farms. So
unbelievable. Love it.
Cochon is man, if you haven't been to one, if you're close to one of the 9 cities that they do them in, you absolutely owe it yourself to go. Tickets are a little spendy, absolutely worth it. 9 stops, total like this fine dining heritage pork festival.
Yeah.
5 chefs at each stop. So each one of those 5 chefs is matched up with a farm, with a local heritage farmer that raises these pigs. We're paired up with a farm. We're allowed to, like with my farm, I was working with Chubby Dog Farm, who's no longer with us after COVID. But I was involved with the finishing process of the animal. It's a farm that I'd worked with in the past, thankfully, so we had a really great relationship and rapport.
Okay.
But
that's cool.
Cochon gives you the opportunity to work with this farmer, help finish the animal, select the animal. And they're approach chefs that have a background in whole animal utilization, already working with farmers and heritage breed animals. And man, you've got to take this one pig, 200-pound pig, and you need to make, 6 courses for 13 judges. And then 3 of those courses need to be translated into some sort of dish or dishes for the attendees, which are 500 to 600 people. So you got a lot of work ahead of you. But man, is it fun. It is just, it's crazy.
What a great concept. And you won in your region.
Yeah, that's like I said, 9 stops, 5 chefs per stop. So there's 45 chefs nationwide that get to participate. Like I said, one of my chefs, Matt McAllister, he was in Cochon. My other chef, David Uger, he was in and won the Dallas stop for Cochon. And I mean, there's New York, Denver, San Francisco, Nashville. I mean, they're Houston. They kind of go all over. So the people that have won these things, when you go look at the list of the people who have won, just what I was crowned as was that you get crowned either the prince or princess of pork at your stop. Then they have Grand Cochon in Chicago every September or October. And that's where all the prince and princesses of pork go and compete to be the king or queen of pork. Of course, that got sidelined for COVID. We're waiting for things to kick back off again, and we're going to get to go compete for Grand Cochon hopefully soon. I don't think it's gonna be this year, but hopefully next year. But and the event is it's crazy cool. I mean, judges, we had such a laundry list of great judges. I mean, Josh Benet, Misty Norris, Food and Wine Best New Chef of Petra and the Beast in Dallas. She was one of my judges. John Tisar, who is, Bravo Top Chef a million times, owner of Knife Steakhouse. And then he's got some steak and seafood joints in the East and West Coast as well. And one thing that was the full turnaround for me as I've gotten to know John over the years, he's Jimmy Sears, man. He's Jimmy Sears in Kitchen Confidential. It's like he was Anthony Bourdain's chef.
Yeah.
He's the one that gave him the name Flacco. It's like you get around that guy. These are your judges in Cochon. So it's like
the story.
Yeah, it's like the star-studded lineup. Just sitting there eating your food, and it's
unbelievable.
Crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, we won it, man. It was It was insane. It was like one of those surreal moments. I just remember I did a Bobby Flay. Like I jumped up on the table and I'm like,
No one will ever forget that. Congratulations, though. That is super, super cool. One final thought. The name of the podcast is The Ultimate Dish. So, Chef, in your mind, what is the ultimate dish?
Oh man, it's such, that's one of those things that, and I get a lot. What's your favorite dish? What's the ultimate dish? I don't know. It changes. It's like the song. What's your favorite song? I don't know. So it depends on my mood. Ultimate dish. God. I think back to everything that I've eaten in my whole life, and I would go with like my great uncle out here in Athens. It was real close to us. He used to make this. It was kind of like a Hoppin' John, black-eyed peas, okra, tomatoes, all from his garden, lima beans. And then my mama would fry up whatever fish that we caught that day. Like me and my papa would be out fishing, and whether it be perch, bass, catfish, who knows, she'd just take it and she'd like kind of Dixie fry it up in the cast iron skillet and put it on top of that like Hoppin' John, and we'd all sit around and eat that. That is probably still this day. That's probably my first like composed dish that I ever ate as a kid. Everything is on top, everything's ready. She'd have some homemade chow she'd break out, or cornbread. That's probably the ultimate dish if I could have that dish one more time.
And that's culture. It's all coming together. I hoped that your answer would be wrapped around family and culture, and it certainly is.
Well, and it's I don't really have family left anymore, and I haven't for a long, long time. But those are my memories of family, was like grandparents, and that was really cool.
Hey, Chef, special thanks to your team. Special thanks to Bailey. Kayak Anglers, look it up. I love it. Cochon 555. I'm obsessed.
Yes.
Escoffier. And the stories that old wooden spoon could tell, if that spoon could talk, right?
Yeah, I'll pick it up and send you a picture of it, and her little I've got her little kitchen beater tool that my great grandpa made her, and you can see it's carved in there by hand by a pocket knife. It says, I think it says January 20th or January 12th, 1920 or something.
Just phenomenal. Hey, thanks for spending some time with us. You're a rock star, and hey, you're rocking the gray beard just beautifully, man. I love it. Thanks for everything you do.
Thank you, appreciate it.
We're gonna have you come back, okay?
All right, yeah, absolutely. That'd be fun.
All right. Take care of yourself. I appreciate it. Thank you for listening to the Ultimate Dish Podcast, brought to you by Auguste Escoffier School of Culinary Arts. Visit escoffier.edu/podcast, where you'll find any materials mentioned during the podcast, including notes, links, and other resources. You can also browse other episodes and subscribe.